I mean, to kind of tie into something I said earlier, I think the push for digitization is definitely something that's advanced more. Like when I used to be an automation engineer, that the focus was not nearly the same as trying to integrate all these systems together and make data available for various analytical purposes. And now you get to talk about cool things like perfect batch analysis and all this stuff that if I got to do, I would probably be still stuck in that rabbit hole because I'm just kind of a nerd when it comes to things like that.
Yeah, whenever I ran teams that did, like site qualification and things like that, all of the stuff that we did was in paper, right? So
Yeah.
we had 3-ring binders all over the place, and I remember, a lot of the conversations that we would have is, about the IQ, OQ, PQ binders that we had that had to be shipped to one customer or another. Just having this stuff digitally would be a great advantage to not have to ship paper around the world.
Yeah, the paperless validation was definitely a big push too. You could ask some of my former team members that it's like, gosh, that stuff is so good, but when you don't know how to use it and they need me to log in and approve a protocol because somebody's out or something like that, it's kind of funny that you're kind of hopeless if you don't know how to use it. But when it works well and then as intended, that makes things so much easier.
So important. Well, what's the greatest piece of leadership advice that you've ever received?
That's a tough question, but I would say it really boils down to the concept of servant leadership. I actually studied this quite a bit, and it may sound counterintuitive to some people. I think the concept is kind of catching on, but really my job is to serve my team and make sure they have what they need to be successful. I've heard it put this way: there's a difference between a leader and a boss, and for my team, I try to always be a leader and enable them. Right, I've hired them to do a job. I believe in them to do that job. I don't need to tell them how to do it. I need them to tell me what obstacles are in the way so they can be successful. And I had somebody kind of pitch and frame it like that to me, and I think it's just been so effective because what that's led to is really long-standing relationships with people that have been on my team, and we probably do anything for each other. And I think it's cool when you can leave a job and stay in touch with people because it kind of comes back to the golden rule a bit. Like you treated people how they wanted to be treated, and you advocated for their success. That's a pretty special thing when you see that come to fruition.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thought in a lot of ways, because I feel like new leaders. I was just talking again to somebody the other day where they were saying, hey, look, every year and every review becomes for them, a question by their high potentials, where do I get to move to next? And, of course, there's only so many senior leadership jobs in every role and things like that. But I feel like senior or servant leaders are much more focused on how do I continue to serve you, and how do I make sure that you're taken care of, even whenever it's not necessarily the next promotion. It's how do I best serve you so that you can go get the stuff done that you need to get done in your job, but also so that you can ultimately be successful and carry things forward as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, sometimes that means letting people blossom and go on to the next great opportunity and wishing them well, right? You can't hold people back. It's not good for them or you, frankly, in the long run. So I think all the time having a good pulse on where do they want to be in 3 years and trying to help them get there. It kind of comes around to work out best for everybody if you just make that happen, regardless of what that means at the present time as far as promotions or certain projects in the company. If you're always advocating for your people, find out you have much better employees, and happy people get things done in a lot better way.
Absolutely. What inspires you?
It kind of dovetailing off the concept of leadership, helping people achieve more than they ever thought was possible. That's there's a lot that inspires me, but that's a pretty cool thing when people see success and they're like, man, I would have never guessed that we could have actually done this. That is just really cool to me when it comes to that. And we've had some wins like that here at Germfree. Not that I don't want to call out anybody in particular, but it's just been cool to see that blossom, and it kind of makes me want to turn the computer on the next morning.
Very good. What concerns you?
Whew. It's a little deeper topic, but the healthcare. I mean, not only just in the United States, the state of healthcare, but throughout the world, we see some pretty interesting things, and when we're deploying labs to places, and it's just concerning that everybody doesn't get the same shake or the same chance in life, and it makes me feel very fortunate to live where we're at and have access to the healthcare that we do. And the cost of it in the United States, some of the therapies are cost prohibitive here, but outside of the United States, the problem's even worse. And I'm really hopeful that we can do something that impacts that, not just here but everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that you're making, because I've I also have experienced a lot of different healthcare facilities throughout the world, and um, I've used the one example that I've had in India. I went to one of their healthcare facilities because I was sick, unfortunately, in Delhi. But I honestly had some of the greatest care that I've had in the world. So to not find this massive disparity there was a shock to me, because you're constantly told as a U.S. citizen, hey, look, we've got great healthcare here, and to be honest, I didn't feel like there was anything deficient in what I received there, and it cost me under $10 to go to the ER and walk out with an armload of prescriptions to fix what was wrong. So yeah, I mean, I might not be the norm. It's not like I did that every week. I mean, this is a one time worldwide experience. So thankfully, as a patient, I only had to do it once. But certainly there are other facilities that I've seen in Asia and other places in the world that honestly, they seemed like they matched pretty well. And then the question always in the back of my mind as a U.S. citizen was, what is the overall cost that these people, at the
Yeah.
end of the day are having to pay, right?
Right. Now, I think there's some lessons learned for us there, right? I find the middle ground is usually the best, right? We're probably maybe a bit extreme. I don't know if I want to claim that, but we'll say we're on the extreme end of regulation here in this country, and then there's places that we've deployed labs to where there's basically no regulation, and you see people doing thing. One example I can think of was disposing of medical waste in a way that I would say is unsafe, definitely frowned upon. And so something to strike the balance between cost effectiveness but safety. I think we'll always fight that, and I'm hopeful that our products will actually help in that endeavor. And the Carrying Cross module project that I mentioned going to Brazil, that's one good example. The cost of cell therapy here can easily touch in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and by doing what we're doing, the cost is not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And to enable that just purely from an economic perspective is quite cool. And I hope it kind of that concept spreads, and maybe it'll even spread here, right? Because nobody wants to pay hundreds of thousands in the U.S. either.
Also true.